Welcome to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm Catherine Tomlinson and I started an eco conscious pottery company called Oxford Clay. Now, Oxford Clay, I don't just make pottery, I also make books and courses for other potters who want to be more environmentally friendly in their pottery making. And that's what this podcast is all about. And I can't wait to get started. Let's go. In this episode, we're going to be talking about making pottery glazes. And when you're working with any powders in pottery, powdered rocks, powdered clays, ashes, you must always use an FFP3 face mask to protect your lungs. Hello, welcome back to the Oxford Clay Pottery Podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Tomlinson. It's really nice to be here with you back on the podcast. We're going to be talking about ash glazing today, and we're actually going to be talking about how to make your ash glazing more environmentally friendly. So I love ash glazing. I'm a big supporter of ash glazing, but ash glazing is not without its kind of environmental impact. And so I thought it'd be a really good episode today to tell you about some things I've been thinking about in my own pottery about like how to reduce the environmental aspect of environmental impact, environmental aspects, negative aspects, environmental impact of ash glazing. So, and make it more environmentally friendly. Okay. So first of all, to say ash glazing is like, it's a great thing to practice in pottery because it is like, if you think about sort of like there are loads of really good aspects to using ash in your pottery. So for example, if you think about like other pottery ingredients, they are mined from the earth. So ash like doesn't have to be mined from the earth. Ash is also like a renewable source of pottery making material. So for example, like if you're using, I mean, I've done a whole book on leaf ash glazing, but you can make ash for pottery glazing. You can make ash from leaves that plants like naturally shed as part of their growing cycle. And that's a renewable source of a pottery glaze making material, which is amazing. This is like, it's not something that is like that's taken millions of years to form like some other pottery ingredients, and doesn't have to be mined from the earth, using huge amounts of energy and pollution to like acquire. It can also be locally sourced. That's another really great thing about ash. So you can just use, the plants local to you. Say, for example, in the autumn, you might have some trees growing, near where you live that are shedding their leaves, and you can use those leaves to make into an ash to make into a pottery glaze. So there's some really, really great aspects of ash glazing. But ash glazing does have obviously an environmental impact, like loads of other things in pottery. So yeah, I thought it'd be really good just to tell you about some ways that you can make ash glazing more environmentally friendly. If you were really, yeah, if you wanted to do it in your pottery and you were sort of, yeah, concerned about the environmental impact of it, you can, yeah, there is like there's things you can do basically. Okay, so the first thing to say is that the first point is that you could actually use ash recycled from sort of something which is creating that ash anyway. So that some of the things that I've been thinking about, like I was like, oh, okay, where could you get a source of recycled ash? And I actually get my ash for my pottery, standard pottery that I'm making all the time. I get that from recycled from wood burning stoves. So I kind of know people that have wood burning stoves. They very kindly give me the ash from their wood burning stove. They're burning hardwood. So, they're saying to me, like, this is the wood I'm burning. It's a great idea to like know what that wood is that the person that they're burning, because then you can like have more control over like the way your pottery looks. But hardwood ash generally makes a really beautiful pottery glaze. It's kind of clear. Sometimes it's got like little white flecks in it. Sometimes a little blue, sort of light blue kind of mist, a little bit like a rutar glaze. And it's a great ingredient to use in your pottery glaze. So yeah, so if you know people that are burning hardwood, or if you're burning hardwood to like heat your home or something, in a like a wood burning stove or something, or any kind of thing, any kind of like any way that you're going to be getting that ash, you're using those that wood anyway to create heat or to cook with, you can then recycle that ash into a pottery glaze. So yeah, so using recycled ash is probably the most environmentally um, sustainable, environmentally friendly way of ash glazing. So other ways of getting ash that's kind of like would be created anyway. Another one thing I thought of was like, say, for example, if you were like sometimes people burn things in the garden, if they want to sort of like, I don't know, they've got loads of like, I don't know, thing clipping, prunings or something. They've got lots of sort of the garden waste that's dry, that's woody. Sometimes people burn that like in a bonfire or something. Um, you can use that ash in your ash glazing as well. Or another thing which I have experimented with is getting ash from businesses that actually burn things. So um, I have I have got ash before from like wood-fired pizza oven companies. So they are making pizzas every day, and I have experimented with using the ash from a wood fired pizza company, and that ash. So basically, they were like a little kind of little van that used to that made pizzas, and I said to them like, "Do you have any spare ash I could just like use in my pottery?" And they were really gracious and like kindly like gave me some ash that they didn't need anymore. They were like, "This is a waste product for us. We don't need it." And so yeah, feel free to use it in your pottery. And the ash that I suppose the bad thing about that is that you don't really know necessarily what that company's like burning. They might be burning like a softwood, or they might be burning, I don't know, something like, I don't know what, like you have less control basically over like kind of knowing what kind of ash you're getting. And the ash that I got, I when I was experimenting with it, it made this really interesting kind of like matte, kind of almost like a purpley light. It's like a kind of lilac blue glaze, but it was like matte. So that was super interesting. So I've never seen a glaze like that before, so I'm not actually sure, like I never said to them like, what wood are you burning for your pizzas? But that's another option. So yeah, so recycling ash from businesses, or people who are heating, using the wood for heating their homes or something, or bonfires. Those are all really good ways of getting ash for pottery, for making your pottery glazes. So yeah, if you can't, if you don't have any source of recycled ash, you another way of making your pottery more environmentally friendly, your ash glazing more environmentally friendly, is that you can use leaves rather than wood. So what I found doing all the kind of experiments I've been doing in terms of like my ash glazing experiments is that leaves, so first of all, they're naturally renewable, like a renewable source. I mean, like wood is renewable as well, obviously, but it just takes like a lot longer. And also with wood, it's likely that that tree or something is felled in order to like make the wood to make then into an ash. I mean, I suppose like prunings could be a good source of wood for ash glazing, but if you see hardwood, like blocks of hardwood or something, it's likely that tree has been felled to like create those. Conversely, leaves are being like, there's something the plant doesn't need anymore. So it's like you're keeping that plant, intact. It's healthy, it's fine. It's just that it's dropping the leaves every growing cycle, so it doesn't need those leaves anymore. It's that. So using leaves is a more environmentally friendly way of ash glazing than using wood, where a tree has been like felled to create that wood. I'm just interrupting this episode to tell you about a totally free guide I've made just for you on how to make a stoneware pottery glaze. So, if you've never made a glaze before, or if you make loads of glazes and you just want a recipe, this guide is for you. It tells you everything you need to know, and it's available via the link in the show notes. Let's get on with the episode. Another really good thing about leaves, so not only are they kind of naturally, the plant doesn't need them anymore. They're sort of being discarded as part of that plant's like natural growing cycle. Another really good thing, not only that, they actually create more ash than wood. So what I found was like sort of in terms of like the amount of ash you get from the materials that you're burning with leaves, you actually get more ash. So it's effectively kind of just like easier for you as a potter as well, but it's in a way like more environmentally friendly because you're kind of it's like you're getting more of that product from the same kind of input, same kind of effort input. Um, so yeah, so leaves are a great way. Like if you're going to ash glaze, using leaves, naturally fallen leaves, is a great way to make your ash glazing more environmentally friendly. Okay, and then it's important to say that when you're burning, any material to make into an ash glaze, you are creating like pollution effectively. You're creating particulates and you're creating um gases are released into the atmosphere. So I actually put a little bit in Leaf Ash Glazing, the book Leaf Ash Glazing, which is available from the Octoclay website if you wanted to know all about how to like make pottery glazes from leaves. But I did put a little section in this book about how to reduce the environmental impact of burning leaves. So I'll just read a little bit out for you from this book. So it says, so this is what it says, what I wrote. Burning leaves does create some harmful gases and particulates, but research has found that more of these are created under conditions of incomplete combustion. So incomplete combustion can occur if a fire has insufficient access to oxygen or if the material being burned is damp. Incomplete combustion also creates carbon monoxide, which is a gas dangerous to human health. So, in this book, I highlight that there are actually four key things that potters can do when they're burning material to make into ash for pottery glazing that they can do to like increase combustion rates and reduce incomplete combustion. So the first thing is to wait until the material is really, really dry before burning it. That's the first thing you can do. Um, the second thing you can do is make sure that it's got like a lot of access to oxygen. So if it's really important if you're burning material to make into ash for ash glazing, that you're doing this outside because like I was just saying that it can it fires create carbon monoxide, and you really need to make sure for your own safety that you're like in a very well ventilated area. So you need to be doing it outside. That will have the effect as well of increasing the combustion rate, which yeah, makes it more environmentally friendly. So another thing you can do is use a really well ventilated vessel to burn the leaves. So a really good way of burning, like if you've got a lot of leaves, is like say for example a garden incinerator. I've got like a 15-liter stainless steel garden incinerator, and it's lifted off the ground. There's holes in it, and it just makes sure there's like a lot of air being able to go around that material into the incinerator, that will make sure that like full combustion takes place. And then the fourth way is packing the material loosely. So if you're burning leaves, just like not like packing them really tightly in the incinerator, just making sure there's lots of air around the leaves will really help with that combustion, and then like reduce the environmental impact of burning the leaves, or any plant material that you're using to make your glaze. So we'll have a quick recap. So those are the three things basically. The first thing is to to be, I guess, like the ultimate in sustainability. You can recycle ash that's already been made, in for another purpose in your pottery glazes. That's great if you can do that. The downside of that is you might not necessarily be able to control like what's being burned, and like essentially, I guess, essentially that results in not quite being able to control like the way the ash looks, the way the glaze looks. So if you don't know exactly what ash is being burned, but like that's a fantastic way, because that materials, it's going to be discarded anyway. And so yeah, you can recycle it basically into your pottery glaze. The second way of making your ash glazing more environmentally friendly is to use leaves rather than wood. So they're renewable, well, more renewable, more renewable. The plant doesn't need them anymore, and they're being naturally discarded as part of the growing cycle. They're locally sourced, and they're very easy to source, and um, They make more ash per weight than like wood does. And then the third way of making your ash glazing more environmentally sustainable is to make sure that anything you're burning fully combusts, because that will reduce the pollution created during the burning. So yeah, oh, thank you so much for joining me. It's been really nice talking to you about ash glazing, about reducing the environmental impact of ash glazing. I love ash glazing. If you're interested to know more about ash glazing, I have like quite a lot of resources on the Oxford Clay website. If you're interested in like learning how to make an ash glaze, very easy. There's like only literally three ingredients you need. It's like the sieved ash, Cornish stone. You can supplement Cornish stone for like a feldspar if you don't have the Cornish stone, and quartz and water. And those are the ingredients you need to make an ash glaze. So you do need to fire it up to stoneware. That's another thing actually that's quite good to mention, that that can, I guess, you're using more energy than other glazes, but because you're using more energy to fire up to the high stoneware temperatures that you need to fire it to stoneware temperatures, high fire, to melt that ash. So yeah, but all in all, I love ash glazing, and it's one of my favorite things to experiment with, like exchanging different plants, and seeing like what kind of glazes they make. It's a really interesting process. So thank you so, so much for joining me on this episode. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, wishing you very happy potting, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Thank you so much for joining me on that episode. And if you want to find out more about eco-friendly pottery, head over to the Oxford Clay website, which is www.oxfordclay.co.uk. Can't wait to see you there.